Thanks for clicking on Wayne.com for this week's edition of Inside the Zone. As you may notice, Shane Albahrani
I have returned.
Is back here. Back, new and improved, Shane Albahrani. Feeling better?
I don't know about new, slightly improved maybe, I don't know.
Well, it's not like you've been busy over the last few
No,
weeks.
no, I have nothing to do.
4 games in 5 days last week. Tuesday morning, Wednesday night, and then Friday and Saturday games. But, crunching the numbers, we were talking a little bit before this. Only 17 games left in the regular season, which doesn't seem like a lot, but it really is.
Yeah, it's you're talking, we're going to the first week of April, so you're still looking at a solid 6 weeks of hockey yet. So it seems close, but it's really quite far away.
When you take a look back at this week, over the next 17 games, what do you want to see from this team? Because, I mean, playoffs aren't a guarantee, but it looks like they're in pretty good position, the Komets are, to earn a postseason berth. What do you need to see from this team over the next 6 weeks to make a run in the playoffs?
Points. Good points. At this point, this team knows they're not going to have a consistent lineup. Haven't had it since day one. So it's just like what happened Saturday at the Coliseum. Finding a way to win when you don't have your best lineup. When guys are dinged up, when guys are out, when guys are called up, you got to find ways to win, and that's what they did on Saturday. So really, you really can't even say consistency because we know it's not going to be there lineup-wise, but just digging deep and finding those ways to win. And I think that's, when I look at a team like Toledo that the Komets have not had very good luck.
3-5 right now at this point.
I look at that team, and it's not like they are any more talented than anyone else in the league. It's just that they are opportunistic. They wait for you to make a mistake, and they find ways to win. That is the difference.
When you take a look at the goalie situation this week, 3 of the 4 games were wins, and in each of those wins, it was a different goalie.
Yeah.
So, you got Ferguson. He got the win in the second win of the week. Munson got the win in the last win of the week. Yeah. So when you have 3 guys, have we settled out? Because this is the same. I feel like we've been talking about this almost every week. It's like, where are we in the goalie situation? Where are we in the goalie situation? It's good to have 3 goalies that can pick up 3 wins in the week. Yeah. But are they settling more into a routine now that Ferguson is back and healthy?
You know what? Not really. Not the way Patrick Munson played Saturday night.
Well, that's a good problem to have, though.
Yeah, so now I think, it looked that way that Ferguson was starting to settle in, but Friday night was a little rough for him, even though I don't think any of that was his fault. Unfortunately, got tagged with the loss. But Munson came in on Saturday, hadn't played in almost a month, and he came in, he was lights out. So, I really wish I had an answer for you. Today is the NHL trade deadline. Who knows? Something might change there because you have 2 affiliated goaltenders, and of course with NHL movement, who knows what's going to happen there. But you're right. It's a good problem to have, but now you're still dealing with salary caps, and you're juggling that constantly. And I don't see how this team can't go the rest of the way with 3 goaltenders. I mean, it's not out of the ordinary. Toledo, they've had problems. They've carried 3 goaltenders on several occasions. A team like Allen is notorious for doing that. So it can be done. It might be a little unorthodox, but at this point, I don't see how this team can't have 3 goalies.
And is that basically, you kind of alluded to it, is that basically because of the unknown? You never know when one of these guys is going to move up. I mean, you need the 3 with 2 affiliated goaltenders. I mean, it could be a phone call.
Exactly.
And you're out 2 goalies.
Exactly. Look what happened to Carolina this weekend.
I saw that.
But they went ahead and pulled both of their goaltenders out of their AHL affiliate in Charlotte. So hence, both goaltenders from their ECHL affiliate, the Greenville Swamp Rabbits, went up to Charlotte. So now Greenville, how many goalies?
Well, and it was like a 42-year-old guy that got the emergency win. It was like the first time in a long time for the NHL to have an emergency goaltender.
So that stuff will happen. So so this late in the season, I wouldn't think that they would risk not having 3 goaltenders.
If it can happen in the NHL, it can happen in the ECHL.
Absolutely.
When you take a look at the return of Mr. Saint Amant,
which now is we're back to him being gone again.
Yeah, was it just one? Was it just the one game?
They played 2 games, and then Chicago had some injuries. They called up Matt Bowdens at the beginning of the weekend, and then the injuries continued in Chicago, and Sean St. Amant got the call. So it was nice to have him back for 2 games. Hopefully, this won't be anything long term, but again, it's something this team has dealt with all season long.
During the time that he was here, did he look like his old self? Because he was he was an all-star selection. Yeah. He was a guy that was definitely in the running for team MVP before he got injured. That was mid-December. Yeah. So he missed 20-odd games. It was like 26 games?
28, 29, I believe.
Yeah. So what did he bring to the team? And I guess if you're a Komets fan, you assume that he's going to be back at some point this year.
Yeah.
What does he bring now that he's healthy and can add to guys who are already being productive offensively, like we've seen Brady Shaw do basically all year?
Oh, he brings everything. I mean, he's the full package. So you name it, defensively, offensively, Sean St-Amant can do it. That's why he was such a big signing. But with that injury, we also suspected that he was not going to be here all season just because he is so talented and he's got a lot of AHL experience and he is so young that he was going to get a phone call or 2 or 3 or 4 during the season. Right. So we kind of expected that to happen. But if he comes back right before the playoffs, that's when you want him. And that's really he has really shined in the playoffs in the ECHL, winning a couple of cups. And but he's such a talented player and. It's a shame you get him back for those 2 games. He was working himself back in the lineup. Certainly wasn't himself yet because he'd been off for almost 2 months.
I don't think there's any way to replicate the legs that you need in a game situation relative to practice, no matter how much cardio or how much ice work you do.
There's a difference between game shape and practice shape. Yeah.
And I feel like that is more true in hockey than it is even in baseball. You can throw a simulated game, or I just don't. I feel like hockey is the one that takes so much more acclimation to get ready for the game in terms of strength and stamina.
Yeah, because you're taking those shifts 30 seconds at a time, and you don't know how much you're working in those 30 seconds. There's no stopping, there's no coasting, there's no dribbling the ball slowly up the court. It is go, 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 go. There's no going back to the huddle. It's go, 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 go.
I played 1 season of intramural hockey at Miami University, and I was like, you got to come out every 2 minutes, whatever.
Yeah.
And after about 30 seconds, you're like, oh, I get it. First game, right. I get it. I get why they come out so frequently. I get it. Your legs just can't handle that kind of stuff. Mine couldn't. When you're taking a look at some of the numbers, kind of the numbers that really stick out to me are the power play numbers, because it was another successful week for the power play. 5 of 13 on the power play this past week. A power play goal in every single one of those games. They're number 1 in the power play in terms of percentage on the season at 25.2%. Best road power play at almost 27%. Yeah. We've talked about it a little bit, and a lot of it is the personnel that they have on the power play, but what else do you see in that unit, namely with Sidlowski out there kind of facilitating the puck to a lot of talented guys, that makes a power play so good?
Well, you've got Sean Sidlowski and A.J. Jenks. That's all you really need to be said about
Bottom line.
Because Sean Sidlowski and A.J. have been 2 of the best power play performers in this league for some time, and now they're on the same line. That's about it. When you have 2 guys like that running your power play, you've got Sid moving the puck on the perimeter. He gets, he goes dot to dot. I mean, he's deadly inside the circles. And AJ, who just sit there in front of the net, ready for their rebound. AJ is tied for the league lead in power play goals. Sidlowski has got the most assists on the power play and most points. So right there, when you have 2 veterans like that, that is a luxury that a lot of teams don't have.
And do you feel like how is it better on the road, I guess is my big question. Do you feel like it's more effective on the road? How is that even possible? Because conventional wisdom tells you everything's going to be a little bit better at home. I guess that's just common sense thinking. Not necessarily true. The players will tell you that it's not necessarily that way. Yeah. But why is it better on the road? I mean, it's incrementally better, but you'd think there might be a drop-off. There isn't.
There isn't. Yeah, but it's almost identical to home now. The Komets now the second best home power play in the league. So it's
first on the road, second.
Yeah,
at home.
You know what? It's coming up. It's pretty even up on either side. But again, it just comes to personnel. You know what? Maybe those games on the road, we had someone else in the lineup who wasn't in the lineup the last home game, because that's what we've had all season long. So it may just come down to something simple as that.
When you take a look at the record after leading, heading into the third period, it's been really impressive. It's like they feel like the Mariano Rivera of the ECHL right now. 15-0-3 when leading after 2 periods. What makes this team good at closing out games when they're leading heading into the third?
It's sometimes just a confidence thing. When you get up or look at the team's record when they score first, it's just a confidence thing. When you go into the third period with the lead, you're going to feel pretty good. And, that's when your defense is supposed to shine. I know that's been a little bit of a problem this year, but that's when, your forwards are going to start jumping into play. You got to keep your foot on the gas. And that's a good stat to have, especially going into these last 17 games. And what's a little concerning was the Komets' home record. They've got the fewest amount of wins at home in the Central Division, which looks bad, but you look, the Komets have finally been able to get some wins at home. And after this week, 9 of the last final 14 games will be at home. So the home play is really what I'm looking for a lot coming down the stretch here.
This is a stat that surprised me, and maybe it doesn't surprise you, but the Komets are tied with Allen for the most goals in the first period this season at 67 goals. Because I feel like we were always talking about, hey, man, they got to get off to a great start.
Yeah.
Statistically, they are. I mean, if you scored 67 goals, you lead the league in first period goals. That's pretty good. Does that surprise you at all, having watched this team every single night?
Not with the offensive power this team has. It's not surprising at all.
The scoring is not the problem, as Ben said after Wednesday night.
Yeah, the first period and third period really has been the problem. It's been that second period. It's coming into that second period very, very flat, there was a game out in Idaho where, for the first 4 minutes, the Komets weren't even on the ice. They were still in the dressing room, gave up 3-4 goals, and it turned out to be a 1-goal game. So the same thing happened in Wheeling. I think the same thing happened against Toledo at home on Friday night. Played a great first period. It was no score, but they could have had a couple on the board, but they came out of the dressing room in the second period just kind of flat. Didn't quite have that jump they had in the first period, and they gave up 3 goals. So, this team, I've noticed they very much strive. They get 1, they get 2, they're going to start rolling.
How do you improve something like that? When you say first periods are pretty good, if we're playing well, third periods are pretty good. If you're Ben Boudreau, if you're this coaching staff, what do you say to the guys? How do you make sure that the second period isn't this pitfall, this valley that you can't crawl out of? You don't want that to happen.
Yeah, I don't think it's anything that Ben Boudreau can do. I mean, that's where the guys on the bench...
It's just such an odd trend. Right. It's always like second period.
That's where the guys on the bench have to look at each other. They've got to look at each other in the eye and say, hey, guys, we have got to keep going. We've got to keep forechecking. We've got to keep rolling. We can't wait around to get a power play. We've got to score goals of 5-on-5, and that's another thing. As good as this power play has been, you cannot count on having those opportunities. You got to win 5-on-5. So that's really internal thing. You've got a lot of guys who are great leaders in that locker room. AJ Jenks wears the C right now. So does Sean Sidlowski and Anthony Petrozelli. You also got Brady Shaw. Brett McKenzie had been a captain. Max Gottlieb had been a captain at a different level. So you got a lot of leadership out there. Matt Bowden's when he comes back. So a lot of guys just need to look at each other and say, hey, this is on us. It's nothing the coaches can do.
This week's schedule, all road games. You mentioned that down the stretch, 9 of the last 14, but these 3 are all on the road. Tuesday at Kalamazoo, Friday and Saturday, back-to-back at Toledo. I assume they're going to take care of business at Kalamazoo, so I don't want to worry about that because I want to talk about Toledo. As I mentioned earlier in the show, Toledo 0-3-5, or excuse me, the Komets 0-3-5 against Toledo this season.
Yeah.
Is it mental? Is it not a good matchup X's and O's wise? Is it luck? I mean, what is it? Because this is a team that if the playoffs started today, they'd be playing each other in the first round, and you don't want to go into a first-round game. You want to get some momentum against this team. Am I wrong? Because you're like, we don't want to play 8 games against these guys in the regular season and not come away with a win and then be like, we got to win 4,
Take everything you said, put it in a blender, and throw it out because I have no idea. Because really,
fair enough.
Really, you know what? When you watch, I think now at this point, when you've dropped 8 straight, actually 9 going back to last year, losing the last game of the playoff last year, I think it's going to creep in their heads. We can't beat this team. But when I look at these games, the margin of error has been so close. Even though you look at some of the scores, the only one that really wasn't close was a game that was 8-4. Every other game has been very, very close.
Even this Friday?
Even this Friday. If you go and you looked at the video and you didn't know the score, you would be shocked that the Komets lost 5-1.
I think that's what Coach Boudreau was saying after the game. Like, they made a couple of plays, but we outplayed them, 55 minutes?
Exactly. And that's the thing, the Komets fall asleep for 5 minutes a night. It's going to happen. It seems like that is the trend in the second period. It seems that way. So the Komets have got to play a full 60 minutes, and that's what Toledo does. Like I said, when they don't have their best lineup, they're going to find a way to win. sometimes will play a boring brand of hockey. They're going to wait for you to make a mistake, and they're not going to miss. That's the thing. And another thing that Toledo does is that they are so fast transitioning from offense to defense, that they catch teams off guard, and it turns into odd man rushes. We saw that on the fourth goal in the third period. Toledo did. TJ Hensick just kind of snuck behind the D, transitioned really fast. He's a goal scorer. He's not going to miss. So it's just things like that. You just can't make a mistake against Toledo, especially in their building, because they will make you pay. But, I go back to the game about a month ago where the Komets lost in a shootout. And if you watch the video of that, it's like that was a flawless game. That may actually have been the best game of the season. Just couldn't get that final goal there in the end. But, no, even up talent-wise, you know what? They're both very comparable teams. It's just they've just kind of had the better luck. And you know what? We've kind of joked around. Yeah, you know what? Let's play Toledo in the first round. Let's go ahead and beat them in the first round. Wouldn't that be a story?
Yeah, man. If you can, they can have all the regular season wins that they want. That's as long as the postseason gets taken.
Well, and you look, and it's funny. You look at the standings, or you look at the head-to-heads. The Komets, one of the best records in the Central Division. If you took out those Toledo games, almost all the losses in the division have been pretty much
pretty well too.
Right.
Yeah.
But the Komets can't beat Toledo. Toledo cannot beat Indy. I think Indy's beat them 7 times.
Wow.
Both teams.
Indy's improved, but
right,
wow.
Right. But Indy has the problem with Fort Wayne. Have not really been able to solve Fort Wayne except for twice. And all 3 teams have played Cincinnati very well. So if you look at the 4 teams in the playoffs, it'll be a very interesting first round of the playoffs. If everybody makes it, Wheeling is still sticking around, of course.
They are.
And I was kind of thinking that Kalamazoo might actually hop up and get in there as well because they were getting healthy, but then they had a couple of injuries there again. But no, this last stretch, it's going to be fun. I'm looking forward to it because, maybe the positions right now stay the same. Maybe the top 4 teams stay the same, but it is just going to be a lot of fun to see what happens. The seeding goes in the playoffs. But again, everyone's got to make it.
Yes. Well, that leads perfectly into my final question: is what do you want to see from the Komets this week? Because it is, it's 3 games. If the playoffs started today, again, you'd be facing Toledo, and these are back-to-back Toledo games. This is kind of. I don't want to say it's a playoff preview because there's so much left, but it is something that's going to feel a little bit more like a playoff game than just your typical regular season.
Well, and I even asked Ben Boudreau this. I asked, is it this point where are you treating every game like a playoff game? And and he said you can't, because you can't match that intensity. You can't go up and down like that because you've got 17 games left. You have to be careful that game on Wednesday. You can't overlook Kalamazoo in their building.
Yeah.
Looking forward to those 2 games in Toledo. And, getting 2 wins in Toledo will go a very long way, I know, with the confidence and the psyche of this team. But we know how tough it's going to be. Let's just worry about tomorrow night in Kalamazoo.
All right, 1 game at a time, as
right.
I like to say. It is cliche, but it's probably the best way to do it. He's Shane Albahrani. I'm Glenn Marini, and we'll be back talking Komets hockey next Monday on Inside the Zone.